This year has been my year to see doctors. You have years like that. This was a year in which I had two little separate episodes, little in retrospect, big while it was in the throes of happening. But during the summer, I was noticing some kind of infection, some kind of fatigue taking place, went through a battery of tests. They discovered what it was pretty obvious, a urinary infection. The doctors did all kinds of examinations and said, except for this, you are healthy. Well, that lasted about 3 months. In the late part of September, I had another little episode. This time it was in the chest area, and given my family history, I felt as though I did not need to take that lightly, and I went for a battery of tests. I had every EKG that you can do. I had a GKE. I had all of it, short of a heart catheterization. And they said, except for acid reflux, you're pretty healthy. And I asked the doctor what acid reflux was, and then I remembered the commercials that you and I have become very familiar with, the little purple pill. By the way, when you take it, it is not that little, and mine is not purple. It is an ugly-looking mustard yellow, and it is much bigger than that. What I'm really trying to tell you is that we go to doctors to determine our health. Recently, Dr. Jimmy Jackson, who does not practice medicine, declared our convention to be healthy in an Alabama Baptist newspaper article. The feature was, "We are a healthy convention." And I want to use that as a segue into what I want to describe as you being a healthy convention. I want to base it, however, and I think we always ought to do this, on a scriptural passage which is meaningful to all of us, and I'll read it in your hearing. If you choose to take your copy of God's Word and follow along, that's fine. The familiar words out of Revelation, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, says the Lord. This is the part I want us to camp down upon for a brief moment together to study health. The God who is, the God who was, and the God who is to come. I noticed very quickly here that the isness or the presentness of God is the initial focus. It wasn't stated this way, God was, is, and is to come. That would be the way logically, sequentially, chronologically I would do it. But in terms of the revelator, he wanted us to be sure that we understand that even in the midst of the worst times of tribulation, God is. We never get beyond any situation, any set of circumstances where God is not. He's always there. He will never leave us nor forsake us. I want you to know that I claimed that promise, among others, during the course of my battery of tests in terms of health, and I claim that promise with you here today. In the initial outset of doing what I would consider to be a diagnostic and maybe a prognostic about the health of Alabama Baptist as a state convention, let me begin by simply saying to you, I understand, we all understand, that our present right now is not perfect. The present situation is not perfect. All we have to do is turn on the television, look at the newscast, and we know that the present set of circumstances just not perfect. We know that we are in what is considered to be perhaps now the worst economic downturn in my lifetime, perhaps in your lifetime. In retrospect, as we get beyond this, we'll learn some lessons from it, but while we're in the throes of it, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the destabilizing sense of the feelings that we have makes us wonder about our health. I just want to say to you, as Alabama Baptist, your state convention, I agree with our president, your state convention is in a healthy set of circumstances, it's in healthy condition. Not perfect, but healthy. There may be a slight infection here, there may be a little acid reflux there. But in general, we're in healthy state of affairs. We're in a healthy situation as a convention. I feel like I need to do some explaining to you. Hopefully this will not be defensive, but in diagnosing and analyzing our present situation, I feel like I need to explain something to you that might be of helpful nature. There's been much discussion in the Southern Baptist Convention about cooperative agreements. And let me just simply say to you that cooperative agreements between the North American Mission Board and the various state conventions, that has been a tool or a strategy of the North American Mission Board in collaboration with state conventions in various locales all across the landscape of North America. It is the North American Mission Board strategy. It has been in place and been utilized for decades, I understand that, but at least over the course of those cooperative agreement lifetimes, they have been revised 3 times, once under my tenure. This is not money which is being, as anyone would say, outside the budgetary system. It is in collaboration where state convention, State Board of Missions funds, designated by the state convention, are joined together with the North American Mission Board to fund North American missionaries in Alabama in various ways, such as the Hispanic Coalition and church planting. Now, I want to tell you that I realize that over the next whatever number of years, according to whatever the North American Mission Board does, there's a huge question mark related to that funding mechanism. That means there is a built-in set of uncertainty in circumstances in addition to the economic situation which surrounds us. I could put a dollar figure on that, but I can tell you that I have already met with the new president of the North American Mission Board. He came to see me graciously, and we had a very candid but cordial conversation for 2.5 hours. And in that conversation, I made some suggestions to him. That's all we do as executive directors in terms of our partners with the SBC. We make suggestions. He entertained those, and he is trying to build his strategy. We'll have to have time to work all that out. That has enormous implications for funding all across the years to come. With that uncertainty, I'd have to simply say to you, our present situation is not perfect. It is workable and practical, and we're committed to try to do what we can to keep our focus on that one mission, the Great Commission, and our one program, the Cooperative Program, and our many ministries, Great Commission ministries in Alabama, in North America, and around the world. But let me just quickly remind you of some things. Again, to be explanatory, not to be defensive. We are the only state convention in the Deep South that does not have a state missions offering designated for state missions. All other state conventions have that to use of what we call our State Board of Missions. We are the only one that does not have that. Simultaneous to that, we're the #1 contributing state convention to the SBC, and we have been for 2 years. That's to God's glory and to your recognition. The way we've done business is pure and simple. We have 2 sections in our budget, State Convention and Southern Baptist Convention. And we unapologetically are going to try to work with our Southern Baptist Convention partners. We're going to try to do the best we can in terms of what happens in the future. I cannot predict the future, but I can tell you that we're going to do our utmost to the best of our most earnest, energetic ability to work with the North American Mission Board and to whatever level we can with other entities in Southern Baptist Convention life. But we have no intention on abandoning the ministries of Alabama Baptist as we look to the future. We have that responsibility. Our present is not perfect. Our past has been productive. Let me just quickly recognize a few talking points with you. Since 1925, let me remind you, since 1925, your state convention in one of the poorest states in the United States of America, where average church attendance on a given Sunday morning would be 65 people. Your state convention and this collaboration of churches have given well over $1 billion through the cooperative program. Now, I realize that that's not a stimulus package. If it were, I'd be talking in trillions. I don't have Washington, you don't have Washington funding, and we don't have Washington language and terminology. So we have to deal with thousands and millions, and then ultimately, collectively, $1 billion. But that's big stuff in big business, big mission enterprise for Alabama Baptist. This state convention has been true to its mission since it began in 1823. It helped found the Southern Baptist Convention in 1845. My predecessor, many times removed at First Baptist Tuscaloosa, helped initiate that. This state convention, as well as other state conventions, have tried to be leaders in Southern Baptist life. We have tried to model partnership. We have tried to model cooperation. That's been our past. That is our present. That's what we look toward in the future. So here we go. Our future can be fruitful. And the way we can be fruitful in the future is to rediscover the principle of cooperation, knowing that God is, God was, and God is to come. He is the Alpha, the beginning. He is the Omega, the ending, and in between. We are to be faithful and committed to being Great Commission Christians in our generation. I realize there are different kinds of views as to what that means. I've been listening to them. I have shared my views. I've tried to receive. I've tried to give. That's my spirit. That's the way I want to work in the future. Therefore, I state again, we want to be good partners with our Southern Baptist Convention entities and with our fellow state conventions. We also want very much to make sure we have healthy churches. We believe in church planting, and the churches we began in Alabama, if you do some study related to them, as many as 10 years out, 90% of them are very functioning and growing and fruitful churches. We don't start as many churches as they do in a population demographically blessed place like Florida, but our life expectancy in terms of longevity equals or exceeds any other state convention. We are committed in the future through our partnerships with the Appalachian Regional Ministry, with our ongoing partnership that you'll be considering in relationship to Michigan, and places of strategic emphasis. We're going to do what we can to partner with you in helping to plant churches beyond our borders. We can do that together. No one church, however large, however prominent, however financially blessed, no one church can do all the Great Commission. But all of us together can make a huge dent in the Great Commission in our generation. Our future can be fruitful, but we have to consider some things and remind ourselves some things. And one of them I think there's a quote that you can look at. Kenan Callahan has been around a long time, and he's written years ago, 12 Keys to Effective Growth. And up there, you'll see a quote that sounds like something I would say, so when I read it, I couldn't help but share it with you. We're not called to go off a cliff, blindly go off a cliff, but we are called to build a bridge to the future. That's my spirit. I'm not for burning bridges, but building bridges, because I believe hope is stronger than even memory is. I believe that salvation is stronger than sin. I believe that forgiveness is stronger than bitterness. I believe reconciliation is stronger than hatred. I believe the resurrection is even stronger than the crucifixion. I believe light is stronger than darkness. So therefore, we have one mission. What is it? We have one program. What is it? And therefore, as Great Commission ministers in Great Commission ministries, let us press forward to the future. And let us look to the future not with a sense of despair or Lone Ranger spirit, but a sense of hope and a sense of cooperation as partners.